Blink Twice was directed by Zoë Kravitz in her directorial debut, as well as co-written by her, and stars Naomi Ackie, Channing Tatum, Adria Arjona, Haley Joel Osment, Christian Slater, Alia Shawkat, Gina Davis, Simon Rex. Very loaded up cast over here. And in this movie, a billionaire named Slater King, played by Tatum, invites a bunch of people to his private island for a vacation, get away from everything else in the world. As they get there, things seem to be great. Everyone's having a grand old time, lots of drinking, lots of partying. There's absolutely nothing that seems off. And then eventually things do get weird. And that's about where I'm going to stop, because the movie is one that I didn't know too much about going in. I didn't know any of the plot details. I didn't even see the trailers really. And I tried to go in as blind as I could. And I want to try and preserve that experience for you guys as well, because the less I feel like you know about this going in, it's going to be a lot better when you finally see how everything plays out. As a director, I think Zoë Kravitz with this movie, though, definitely does make a pretty substantial mark. I am curious to see what she's going to do next, and I think there is a very bright future for her as a filmmaker. Because there are certain moments in Blink Twice where it's very clear that she has an eye for filmmaking. There are scenes that definitely will stick with you at times. There are some very intensely done moments, and the way that she's able to construct all of the scenes is really, really effective. And it's all performed really well as well. She does a great job directing those actors. Like Naomi Ackie, who is someone we're following for pretty much the entire movie as things unfold. And she is that character who is also the perspective for us, so as we're seeing everything go down. And she's really, really good in the movie. I thought she did a fantastic job. But also equally good was Channing Tatum, who plays a very different role than what you're probably used to seeing from him. It's always fun when this happens, because when you see an actor who you know for a lot of lighthearted and fun roles and things that are much more entertaining, even most recently with Gambit in Deadpool and Wolverine. I hope that's not a spoiler. That movie was like a month ago, guys. I feel like enough people have seen it now, but anyway, even compared to some of that stuff, whenever he does something that's outside of that, it's something that's very interesting. Like Foxcatcher, I would say, was one of those roles, and this is another one of those that definitely is very effective. He plays a character over here who gets very menacing at times, and that is played very, very well. He does a good job over here too. The supporting characters, like Adria Arjona's performance, she's really good over here, having a very good year, even with Hitman earlier this year with Glenn Powell, Haley Joel Osment, Christian Slater. Everybody does a really good job in this movie. There are some things with characterization that, however, I will say do sometimes get a little sidelined. There are some things that you don't really get to know about some people who are on this island that I would have liked to know a little bit more about, especially when the going gets tough for some of them. But beyond that, I would say that they did manage to do a good job, mostly with the moments that were effective when it came to the plot being executed as it is. It takes a little while to get there, though. When you first get to the island, there's a lot of time in that first act of the movie where not much is happening. It's essentially a rinse-repeat system when it comes to how, things are going on the island. But eventually, once the more twisted and gnarly aspect of the story kicks in and things begin to deteriorate, the movie picks up considerably, and eventually it builds to a big third act where some really fun stuff happens, and that was extremely entertaining and really well done, as well as extremely bold and very visceral. There are things that are going on, especially when it comes to the themes that are being tackled in Blink Twice, that I was quite surprised by, especially when it came to making those scenes happen as they do. There's an intensity to them which was something I did not expect, and it makes for some very memorable viewing in the process, but also difficult in some ways. And I think the way Kravitz manages to pull off those sequences is quite commendable. And so I do really have to give a lot of praise to how that story eventually comes together. And so while there are issues that I have with the movie, and I think that there are some things that could have been better when it comes to bringing together all of its narrative threads, there are some things regarding the world of the island too, which I would have liked to know a little bit more about, but we don't really get too much in terms of that. And there are some details that do feel a little sparse overall, but by the end of the movie, it is still a very effectively told story, and one that eventually builds to a pretty grand conclusion. And so I'm very curious to see how people are going to respond to the movie once it does drop in theaters this weekend. I feel like there's going to be some interesting discussions about it, but make no mistake, I am very excited to see what movie Kravitz ends up doing next. I think that she's got an eye of a very talented director over here. She's already proving her worth with this one. And so whatever she ends up making next, I will be there for that. I'm gonna give Blink Twice a 7.5 out of 10. Much like Cuckoo, I feel like this is one that might just improve on multiple viewings. That movie I gave also a similar rating to, and I think that in the time since, it has just improved for me as I've thought about it and as I've reflected on it. The same might happen here too. So I feel like there is going to be a long, journey for this movie, and I feel like it's just going to be regarded better and better as time goes on. Guys, thank you very much for watching. Look forward to more videos very soon. As always, if you like this, please do subscribe. Thank you once again, and I'll see you guys at the movies.